Welcome to the Patricia Jo Grover Show, where we turn believers into achievers. And today, my guest is Breanna Gunn. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Breanna. She is a messaging and funnel specialist working with business owners and solopreneurs to create messaging and processes that inspire loyalty, momentum, and action that leverages trust, authenticity, and profitability. So, oh my goodness, Brianna, I need you. You and I were just chatting, and so today, actually, I'm in the process of switching over the name of my show from the Patricia Jo Grover Show, where we turn believers into achievers, to the Rise Above Show with Patricia Jo Grover. And here we help people rise above their challenges and still turn believers into achievers. Because each one of my guests are coming and helping with that certain puzzle piece when they're sharing their genius. So, thank you and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
You know, it is really exciting right now with everything that we have had going on globally with this pandemic. So many people have had to be innovative, and
Yes.
whether they already had an existing business that they've had to like tweak, pivot, and do these different shifts to fit in this today's climate. And some people lost jobs that they had or businesses, and now they're having to start fresh from scratch. So I love having guests such as yourself because you can help guide people in the right directions, because it's so frustrating. I know for myself, these technical things are not necessarily in my lane. So if I don't have the skill or will to do something, then I have to hire that out, or I have to really take a step back and take some time and money out of my budget to learn all this stuff. And that can
Yeah,
be quite the process, and get me put behind where I want to be. So,
definitely.
yeah, so fantastic. So, um, tell me a little bit about yourself, Brianna.
So I have been a messaging and marketing guru, expert, whatever you want to call it, for the last decade. I kind of fell into it. I got hired on to check email, and I just kept saying yes whenever anyone was like, "Hey, do you want to learn how to do this?" Sure. And then I would panic. But I would inevitably figure it out. Now I'm not super techy, but I can play in some of those the bigger CRMs with the best of them, and build landing pages and things. And over the last probably 7 years, I have helped people launch multiple millions of dollars in products and programs, and it's so fun. I love watching the transformation that happens when you have good copy and good plans and it all comes together. Magical things happen, but they're not so magic, they're very strategic. It just feels like magic.
Exactly, exactly, and that's what I've been working on myself. With help from, again, companies and individuals, because it does sometimes. I want to say it takes a team. It takes all these pieces to be able to come together, and like you said, once it finally does, and everything's clicking and fitting just right, it is magical. It is
Yeah,
magical.
it really is.
Wow, wonderful. So let me kind of ask you some questions here. So,
Okay.
all right. So here, this question is, what made you step away from your business?
So about 7 years ago, my oldest son got really sick and had to go in the hospital.
Ooh,
And being a solopreneur, we build our businesses, and our business is us.
right.
And I had to make a choice of, do I sit here with my son, or do I run my business? And I couldn't do both, and I had to step away. And I promised myself that I would never put myself in that position again. So when I was able to restart my business about a year later, I really relied on team, and growing a an organic team that fills in the gaps for me, as well as can fill in for me if I want to take a vacation or something else happens. And I think many of us as entrepreneurs were we put team off until later, and it's always, I'll do it later. It's not right
Right.
now.
I'm not
And
I'm not big enough to have that.
right.
That's right.
And I think we forget we're not hiring employees. We're not looking to have someone 40 hours a week. Even having someone check your email for an hour a day can help you advance your business in ways that you wouldn't possibly have been able to otherwise. And so making sure that I was really strategic, not only with my clients and building in what I call gap time, meaning I know I can get this done in X amount of time, but I'm going to say Y amount of time in case something happens.
Yes, yes.
It's that under over promising or under promising and over delivering, and making sure that those were core tenets of my business. And now I help other businesses put those types of systems in place through evergreen funnels and messaging that is not having to be redone every 6 months, so that you have more time freedom in your business. Because I know firsthand how challenging it can be when you have to fire all your clients, and then when you try to come back, they've already found someone else. Making sure that you build in those buffers is really, really important.
Exactly, exactly. So I hope our viewers and listeners are really listening to Breanna's story here, because this is so true. We're all facing this as solopreneurs, entrepreneurs in our businesses. Most of the time, if we're not working, we're not making money. Our business isn't operating. So when you do get the right people in holding those right positions, or, like we said, they're not necessarily full-time employees. They can be through a temp agency, or you get them in there, you give them a W-9, whatever the case may be on that. So and I myself have been going through this huge huge situations with this recently. So
Yeah, well, and not every contractor that you find is going to be perfect. Sometimes
right.
you have to eat some frogs to find your prince. And I think a lot of us have gotten burned or had issues with contractors. And so we're like, oh, everyone is like that. I get hired on by people who have had copywriters or messaging strategists or funnel strategists before, who weren't able to do the things that they claim to be able to do. And so everyone comes into me a little bit gun shy, and that's okay. I would love for our industry to do better, but that's not always possible. And so understanding that sometimes the one person that's the struggle or the frustration for you is not everyone, can really shift your perspective. So if you're thinking about outsourcing, don't expect to find the perfect person out the gate, though you might. I got very, very lucky in my hiring. But give yourself some grace that this is the first time you've ever hired.
Right.
You may not find the perfect person. And if it's not a good fit, don't sit in that relationship longer than you have to. You'll know if it's a good fit within the first 30 to 60 days. And if it's really not a good fit, then you have to put on your big girl pants and do the firing.
Yes. Yes, you talk my language, the big girl pants, because I'm saying I have actually a pair here that says because to me you need to put on the big girl panties and get to work.
Oh,
We need to face up, and we all have these things, so it's like we gotta claim name and claim our baggage, so that, or whatever the issue is, so that we can move past it.
yep.
Yeah. But what I want to say, and it's in now I'm connecting things that I hadn't been able to really connect before, because having a VA doesn't necessarily mean they do what you do or can do what you do, because that's really a specialized thing. When you're talking writing copy and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
not everybody can do that. They don't Not
No,
everybody has that skill, or everything. And what I found too is it's hard for any of those things. You have to feel like, as the entrepreneur, solopreneur looking to hire someone, it's very important to us, and it's very important to me, is that the person I'm working with can understand my voice, my message, my mission, so that they understand it. So when things get written or put out or created, it's as close to what I would do as if I were doing it myself. And I
mm-hmm.
think that's where people have a hard time. So
Yeah, and I'm a ghostwriter, which means I write in your voice.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to shift gears for every client that I'm working with because everyone's voice is different.
Yes.
And not every copywriter is able to do that. And that's okay. But you need to know what you want before you go out and hire that person, because what you want and what they're able to deliver may be two very different things. And it's the same with a web developer or a virtual assistant or a graphic designer. Figure out what people's strengths are. Ask them, what are you really, really good at? And then see if what they're really, really good at, what I call their genius zone, matches up with your needs.
Right.
And it won't always. And that's okay. It's okay to say, I don't think we're a great fit for this. I'd love to stay in touch, or do you know anyone who could do this? I don't believe in accidents. Every person that you communicate with has something to offer, whether it's a mutual connection or maybe their best friend is going to become a client. You never know how that's going to play out. I have multiple instances where we met through some crazy phenomena or LinkedIn or Facebook, or we ran across each other at an event, which I miss.
Yes.
And, it's turned into being an advisor on a panel for moms who want to start their own business. It's turned into spots like this where, I meet you and we have a good synergy and you're like, hey, let's do a podcast episode together. Never turn away those opportunities, because you never know where they're going to lead. You never know who's going to be like, oh my gosh, what was the girl's name? Oh yeah, okay, I need to connect you with Bree because she's a killer copywriter. You need a copywriter. You two need to meet.
Right.
And so I think a lot of us we're so stridently in that I'll do it myself mode. We forget there are people out there who want to help us, who want to hire us, who want to help us go faster, if that makes sense.
Exactly. And we all have our purpose and our passion for what we're doing in the way, we come across. So you come from a place of service that you're trying to service entrepreneurs for their businesses to help their businesses move forward. And I'm servicing people to be able to take their lives, whether, whatever part of their life it is, personal or professional, and really step back to figure out what the pieces are that they need to have to move forward. Because for them to be able to get from where they are to where they want to be, there's point A to point B, we really need to determine where we are at that point A. And so for some people, that's difficult to, and can be emotional and upsetting and frustrating and all that stuff. And then many people don't allow themselves to dream or dream big enough. And that even comes through for entrepreneurs for their businesses. So it's like,
well, when our businesses are so intrinsically tied to who we are, we get so incredibly attached to everything that has to do with either needing us, wanting us. For example, I had a call later this week with a potential client. I already spent an hour with them. They wanted to meet me together because I spent 30 minutes with one partner, 30 minutes with the other partner. They want to do a meeting of the minds. This morning, the email said, we already filled the position. We need to cancel your appointment.
Holy crow.
And I could look at that and be crushed and be like, oh my God, I wasted all this time. Or I could be like, you know what? Great. They're not a good fit.
Right. And it's better to find out earlier on than right.
And they're opening up space for someone else.
Right.
If I am working with a client who doesn't know what they want and is wishy-washy and unclear, then how am I going to purposefully guide their content or their copy or their funnel in a way that actually drives clients? Because if they don't know what they want, I can't force it out of them.
Exactly. But on the other aspect, say you and I are having this conversation about me needing and wanting you to do service for me.
Yeah.
Again, sometimes the entrepreneur or solopreneur doesn't know what it is that they need. They see the picture of, this is what I want. I don't know what it's going to take, what all those pieces are to get me there. And that's where it comes from me, because that stuff is so far out of my lane that it's like.
And that's where you need someone who understands the processes and has a breadth of experience. And you also need someone y'all who are listening, if you ever are in a conversation with someone and they don't admit to not knowing everything, run. Because even the
Good.
smartest people on the planet don't know everything.
Yes.
You know, Steve Jobs was brilliant with computers, but he didn't have great people skills.
Right.
You know, we can't be good at everything. We're not, as much as we want to be Wonder Woman.
Right.
We're not all Wonder Woman. And it's okay. In fact, I have far more respect for the people that say, I don't know, or you know what, I've not thought of it that way, or that's actually out of my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Because they're holding their boundaries, they're clear in what their talents are, and that leaves room to learn. That opens up a conversation. Would you want to learn this? Is this something that you think that you might want to do? You know, I have a VA right now who's incredible, and she started out just checking my email, and now she's loading my blog posts, she's loading my weekly emails, she's learning WordPress. She's expanding her knowledge because she's like, I'd really love to help you in more ways. And so we've purposefully looked for ways for her to fill that gap and expand her knowledge so that she can be, one, more of service to me, and two, so that I feel like I'm further supported.
Yeah.
And, when you're working with someone who wants to move quickly, but can't facilitate the conversation or keep the momentum going, it becomes very, very difficult to translate anything they do into something reasonable. And so having someone who understands and is removed, oftentimes my clients hire me because they're like, I don't necessarily need copy, but I just want someone to consult with me on this funnel. I've got all of this stuff done. I need someone who's not so deep in it. You know, I've been compared to the nicest bulldozer anyone's ever met, because I
love it.
I come in and I excavate, and I'm like,
yes.
Okay.
I love that.
Sorry.
No, that's great.
I dig out the information because I'm coming in with completely fresh eyes. You know, you and I were talking about your new intro and your new podcast, and you wanted me to take a look, and I love it. It's great. And you have so many other great things coming up, but you have a lot going on. So bringing someone like me in and saying, okay, laying all my cards on the table, this is everything. And me saying, this is great, but this is actually like 6 months worth of work. What do you want to do first? And then you can start to, instead of, running and spinning wheels, you can start moving forward and knocking those dominoes down, and you'll likely get to the finish line a lot faster than if you hadn't had that person over your shoulder saying, I get that you have a big vision, but let's pull it back just a minute.
Right. Exactly. And that's what I do for clients when I'm working with them. So for me, again, for people watching this, viewers and listeners, even the highest coaches, even, whether it's sports or whatever they're doing, people have coaches and mentors or people that they go to help them work through some situations. So that's what it takes, for
this is why we need a community.
Mm-hmm.
We need to, I'm so tired of seeing entrepreneurs who don't ask for help. Like, I love that we had a good 15-minute conversation before we started recording because you wanted my feedback. And I love that. And I love that you're comfortable enough to ask. And I love that I put off the vibe that it's okay to ask. Right. There's a lot of people out there who are all business and not willing. And I think if we step back and we start viewing people like people again, we'll get so much further down the path.
Exactly.
I wouldn't have been able to restart my business when I did if it wasn't for the people that I met before I shut everything down.
Right. But to me, this is showing me, Breanna, you are where you're supposed to be, doing what you're supposed to be doing. I feel totally confident in you with what your knowledge and expertise is with content writing and marketing, and putting those pieces together. So even if you had to have the break, and that's a great thing. Family needs to come first. People need to put themselves first, and that's another thing that I teach my clients is that we need to focus on those things for us to be able to have joy in our lives. So
absolutely
fantastic. So let me move on to the next question. We're having a great conversation, and I love it.
It's great.
So how have you set up your business so that you don't have to implode things again?
Right. So I I went nuclear on my business when I shut everything down. Like I literally called every client and fired them, and I didn't have any contractors, so that was fine. Shut everything down, shut my website down, like gone. I was completely, I vanished basically. The only thing that was still in existence was my blog, which I've since sold. Um, and so when I set things up this time, I knew that I needed to bring on some help. So I was very strategic. I wanted someone who could be in my inbox that wasn't me, so that I could, if I needed to take a step back, I could still communicate. Mm-hmm. I wanted someone else who could write besides me. So I have a junior copywriter, and I'm actually training a second junior copywriter right now. They don't write the sales copy in my business because it's one of those things that I love doing, and I probably will never give it up. But they're able to fill in the gaps with social posts, nurture copy, weekly emails, right, blog posts, those kinds of things, which is really nice. And then I also have social media handled by someone who's not me, so that one, I hate social media, and two, I understand the need for it. So I'm not, it's like the last thing I want to do. And inevitably, I know I'm not going to do it. So I've set my business up so that there are people in positions that either I don't want to do, and I know that even if I'm having my fingernails pulled, it's not going to happen. And right, two, so that I can take breaks and vacations and duck out early and do all the things that I dreamed of doing when I started my business, but didn't have the wherewithal to do because I was a one-woman show. And if I wasn't working, I wasn't making any money. So I think to anyone who's listening, if you're trying to make your business function on a larger scale with less of you, outsourcing is going to be your biggest thing. You know, one of my dear friends, Bonnie Fay, is like the queen of outsourcing. She's incredible. She's helped me hire a number of people, and she built a whole business on teaching people how to hire.
Yes. You know, I have had and have been a business owner and in management of Fortune 500 companies for many, many years. So hiring staff to work for a business is different than hiring somebody to work for you for these types of skill sets. You know, because again, at this point, I'm reaching out because I don't know these technical things. You know, mm-hmm. and they're not things I don't have experience with. Whereas other parts of when I've had other businesses or managed other businesses, I knew what they were supposed to be doing and how they were supposed to be doing it. You know, mm-hmm. so the difference is there. You know, but it is, you know, it is a challenge, but here starting off 2021 to actually, and I viewers and listeners, I want you to really think about this. It's time to learn to run your business and not have your business running you.
It's time to be a CEO and not an employee.
Right. Exactly. You know, and for so many people that I know and that are just getting started, so they're either just getting started or they've been stuck, you know, now is the time to set everything up properly, you know, and have those systems and routines in place. And so that you have, you know, you set your budgets. And I teach people to set budgets for your time, your money, and your energy. You know, because so the time is how much money you're going to invest in something. If it needs to be done by a certain time, you put your date on that and you work your milestones from there back to say, okay, this is, if I'm going to have this done by then, it's just like achieving a goal. This part of it's got to be done by this time, this part by this time, so on, you know, so on like that. Mm-hmm. So you have your time, you have your money invested in that, and when I say your energy is if you need to delegate because it's not in your lane. Do you need to have somebody else do that piece for you? Because if you do, you have to add that in your financial piece.
Budget. Yeah. Right. And, you know, and a lot of times I think when we're starting out, we don't know what we don't know. And we want to try everything once. And so what I found to be a really good tool is grab a piece of paper and make a cross straight down the middle. So you have 4 boxes, mm-hmm. and the top left is for things you love to do and are good at. You're not going to break anything. You could do it all day long. You don't get tired of it. Right. The one on the top right is things you're good at, but don't necessarily love to do, but it doesn't bother you. It doesn't drain you. You don't put it off till like 3 weeks from Thursday.
Okay, our viewers and listeners, make sure you're taking notes here. So
Yep.
top
Top left
left is
is things you love.
love.
The stuff that lights you up that you could do all day long, every
Okay.
day. Like I love having conversations like this.
Right.
The top right is things you're really good at. Like, let's say I'm really good at loading stuff in WordPress. That's something I can do. I enjoy it. It doesn't burn me out. The bottom left
Okay.
is things that you can do, but would rather not do anymore. So things you're okay at, things that you're not going to break. Maybe, it's writing your blog post, or your social media could go there. Right. And then the bottom right is the stuff you absolutely hate. You're going to break something if you keep doing it, like your taxes. And that you, if money was no object, you would hire someone for.
Exactly.
And as you're going through your day, keep that little piece of paper, or I use an 8.5 by 11.
Right.
And as every task that you do, assign it a box. So that by the time you get done with a week or a month, you have a very real database of exactly what you should be outsourcing first.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Oh, Breanna, this is fantastic. Everybody, viewers and listeners, really take note of this. Oh, fantastic tips. Oh,
I can't claim that as mine.
No,
I
no,
it
no,
somewhere,
no,
but I don't remember where.
Exactly, but it's a fantastic tip. And I mean, it's similar to what I do working with the clients, how I do, but yet this is even to help us to determine really what needs.
And I even redo it. I do it like once a quarter. I'll take a week and I'll just reassess. Is there anything that I'm still doing that I need to get off my plate? Because we forget. I had a real rude awakening last week when my writers were both out and I was stuck with all the writing. Not stuck with, but I remembered why I don't do nurture copy. I remembered why I have them doing social copy, because it's so much more efficient and I get to do all the things I love versus, taking an entire day to write one client's copy. We can get through 4 clients in a day. And it gave me a really good awakening of, oh my gosh, I'm so thankful for these people. And I automatically sent them a box fox with a card.
Yeah.
Tell them how much I appreciate them. But yeah, it's a good tool.
Right. So now I am going to, I don't know where you got it, but I'm going to also use it from what so I'm bumming it off of you to add into my own planning days. And, because I have a planning day, I do one a week, I do once a month, I do once a quarter, and I do yearly, but still for revisiting those things, for checking the measurables. And that is something also to keep track of. Mm-hmm. Fantastic. So now let me ask you, what's the biggest lesson, Breanna, that you've learned about your own business?
I've learned, and this is something that's kind of been a theme throughout our conversation, that it's okay to not be good at everything. And I love the fact that my clients appreciate when I say, I don't know. You know what? That's not something I've done before or familiar with. I'm not sure. And inevitably, it creates a firmer bond for our relationship. And it also helps us to be more efficient with our conversations, because I can say, this is something you need to hire out, outsource, or we need to do some research. And, I think more of us need to admit when we don't know.
Exactly.
It's okay to not know everything. It really, truly is. And if anything, it makes you even more of an expert.
Right. And I love that. And just like with my show, Breanna, mm-hmm. and like I said, the original was the Patricia Jo Grover show, where we turn believers into achievers, so that to help people believe and understand and know that they are worthy, that they are capable, and they're not in this alone, so with that, because I am not, I'm not a licensed psychologist, psychiatrist, and I'm not a financial advisor. So I don't have the answers for those things for people, but I have the guests that I have that come on my show that are, the professionals in those areas. So,
and I'm sure you have your Rolodex of people you refer to as well. It's always nice to know people.
Exactly. And that's, with having the guests on my show, I've learned so much about so many other people. Then mm-hmm. I was telling you prior to the show that, I have invited people that I've had as guests on my show to my private network and mastermind group so that it is just taking it to the next level of making those connections and growing the know, like, and trust, so that we can confidently recommend each other
Right.
internationally. And that's all about what I'm doing, and what the services that I'm providing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's so important to know where your boundaries are. And I think saying I don't know, or not claiming to know everything is really, it's not that it's, I think it's about boundaries. I think that the better boundaries we have, the more confident we are in our skill set. And the more confident we are in our skill set, the more confident we are saying, nope, that's not me. Nope, I don't do that. Or in my case, yeah, I know how to do that. I don't do it anymore.
Right. Exactly.
You know, I'm guilty of jumping in. I had a client who had a family emergency and couldn't load their emails. Do I load emails for every client? Absolutely not. I absolutely hate doing it. Am I able to? Heck yes. I'm very versed in most CRMs. So I was able to jump in and assist, but it was a choice at that point. It wasn't a necessary. And I think having those differences of, I'm choosing to do this because they need help, versus, oh my gosh, I have to do this because it was on the bottom right for my little task list, was loading emails into CRMs. I hate doing it.
Right.
Right. And so it's that piece of being able to step back and say, what do I really not want to do anymore? And putting that on the I don't anymore list.
Right, but that doesn't mean it doesn't need to get done. It's just that
Right.
you're making those choices and decisions to
So we can
get it out.
outsource that. Whether that means I hire someone on my team. For a while there, I had a VA whose only job was to load emails,
Right.
because I hate doing it that much.
Exactly.
And it's okay. It's okay that I don't like it. It's totally okay.
Exactly.
You know, and it took me a long time to get there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because there's a lot of copywriters out there who don't, and I was one that did. And I realized, you know, this sucks the joy out of everything for me. The fun part is the content and the planning and the strategy.
Mm-hmm.
So now I get to do more of that, and far less, like none of the pieces of what I do that I can't stand. I get to hand that off to their team.
Oh, see, I applaud you. Yep. Our viewer, right? Our viewers and listeners, really, there's been a lot to learn from this conversation, and I think it's really important. And again, we're just starting this new year, you know, so get your ducks lined up here in a row so that you are taking the next steps in the right direction, because it's so hard to go back and undo things. If you even can undo something, you might as well be using the right tools to get you in the right direction from the start. So
yeah, and it's okay to admit when you don't know something. If you are struggling, find a mentor. Patricia's great. She really is. And find someone that you trust to walk you through those pieces. If you're struggling with the decision-making process, if you're struggling with letting things go, find someone who can help you do that. That's why coaches have coaches. That's why we all have, whether you're paying them or whether they're your best friend, find someone that can hold you accountable to what you've said you want.
Yes, I applaud that. Oh, and it is true. We all need, and I say, our front row, our circle of those people, that are our accountability buddies, that are our mentors and support system locally, because many people don't have, their family and friends don't understand the passion for the project that you're working on, as if you're a solopreneur, entrepreneur.
Right.
Those close people to you, your regular family and friends, don't understand. They don't understand your level of craziness for what you're trying to accomplish. But when you get with other like-minded individuals that are on the same type of mission, but not necessarily in the same genre, that you're working on, those putting those heads together and doing the masterminds it's
phenomenal. It really, exactly. I mean, this is why I'm doing a mastermind this year, because something magic happens when you bring in people who understand. You don't have to explain that you don't actually sit on your couch eating bonbons all day.
Exactly. Exactly.
I've worked from home for a decade. My husband, just in the last 3 years, has been like, "Oh, you actually have a business." And I wanted to smack him. I was like, "Really?"
Yeah. Exactly.
and I didn't, but it's that same thing. My dad is an entrepreneur, and so he understands better than most people what it's like, but he's never been in the digital space. He was always physical products.
Right, right.
So, we try to talk and it's two different languages.
Mm-hmm.
So find the people that speak your language and facilitate those communication channels, those masterminds, those groups, those Facebook groups,
Yes.
those coaches, those courses, however you are putting yourself out there, look for people in similar spaces, because one, I don't believe in competition, and two, you're going to find that you're not a good personality match for everybody, which is totally fine.
Exactly. Exactly.
But you're going to find the people that just make your heart sing. I call them my soul sisters. They are your people that when stuff goes wrong, when things go bad, they're the ones you turn to. And
Right.
you need to have those people over and above your family, your friends, because it's like you hear about your work wife. Entrepreneurs don't really get that, but you can create a work wife or a work wife situation where you have that person who has your back and can get upset about the things that like you really shouldn't, in your head, you're like, I shouldn't be this upset about it. But when you talk to somebody, you're like, I know I shouldn't be upset about it. Like, yes, you should be mad about that. And it's so freeing to not have to explain, okay, so today I was on X number of calls and I know I didn't get the dishes done, but I got a new client and blah, blah. And they're like, I don't care. Versus having a conversation where you're like, oh my gosh, I had 8 calls and this and this and this. And they're like, oh my God, that's amazing. You're incredible.
Right, exactly. And that empowers you to actually have more energy to do both the things, go back and do the dishes and do another call. It
Right,
really does.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah, it recharges your I'm sure you've heard the analogy, fill your bucket before you
Yes.
fill anybody else's. And it's so hard to keep our buckets full as entrepreneurs if we don't have other entrepreneurs in our world.
Exactly, exactly. And that's why I did create my peer-to-peer mentoring and accountability membership program, because it's taking care of all those issues, and we need it.
Incredible program.
We need it. And other people
And you need someone who can facilitate it in a way that's not threatening.
exactly, exactly. Yeah. So it's all exciting
Yeah.
times, things happening, and so so happy to have you with me, Breanna. So do you have any special gifts you want to leave our listeners and viewers with today?
I just recently published my $80,000 template that I used to, yeah.
Ooh.
So I love LinkedIn. And when I first started networking on LinkedIn, I was able to make net of $80,000 in 60 days.
Ooh, okay.
Using a single private message.
Oh.
So I put the message in a template, and your viewers can go to breannagunn.com/LinkedIn and snag it.
Ooh, okay. So Breanna's gonna say that again slower, and we
Yep.
will put it down in the chat also. But so go ahead and
Yep.
say this a little slower
It's
for everybody.
Breanna Gunn, BreannaGunn.com/LinkedIn.
All right, fantastic, fantastic. And and for anyone who'd like to find out more about me, you can go to patriciajogrover.com. And I have a special text opt-in for people also. If you text the word goal to 2678, yeah, I just changed this up. 26786. That's right, 26786. And so thank you again, Breanna, for being with me. And we have a little exit video. And until next time, everyone, have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much.